Hello, Facebook. This is attorney Stacy Shaw, and today I am talking about child custody basics. So, I don't know if you tuned in earlier from with me at on 103 Jams, Shine, Hustle and Shine in the morning. Let me get it right. So, Hustle and Shine in the morning, and I was talking about guardianship. One of the things that is really important for people to understand is what is custody law. Okay, a lot of people have ideas about what custody is in the state of Missouri, and custody is divided into two parts. Okay, first part is legal custody. So we talk about decision making power. When I'm drafting parenting plans, I always start off with that because that's really, besides physical custody, which is going to be detailed in great detail in a parenting plan most of the time, legal custody is really each parent's ability to make decisions on behalf of the child. That's really where you see a lot of differences when it comes to parents. And so we have people that have different parenting styles. And in order for them to share joint custody, they have to have what's called a commonality of beliefs. So you don't want it would be horrible for parents not to be able to agree on anything when it comes to children. That would be a nightmare. All right. So um, commonality of beliefs is really important. The ability to communicate is really important. But the standard in the law right now, when we are talking about physical custody, which is parenting time, who has the child on what days, there is a change in the law in, I believe, the end of August, where there's an assumption by the court that each parent should get 50-50 parenting time, so about equal parenting time. There's 28 to 31 days in a month, and so roughly 15 days a month, give or take. And so on a week per week basis, if you look at it, I mean, it's hard to look at it during a month because months have different setups. But if you look at it on a week, I'm usually a 2 week rotation, then you all are going to have about 50-50 time. So most of my clients, they have 2 days per parent during the week. So one parent takes Monday, Tuesday, the other parent takes Wednesday, Thursday, and then they rotate weekends. Now, there are times when that's inappropriate. So I do have cases right now, and I say, you know what? We want to try it because we do not, and try means litigate it. We want to litigate it because we don't believe that it's in the best interest of our children for this parent to get 50-50 parenting time for a lot of different reasons. Um, One parent could work all the time. One parent may not be able to care for the children 100% of the time. Maybe one parent just never shows up to parenting time. That's the thing. Okay, so I have lots of calls about that parents are wanting parenting time and they don't actually exercise it. And so those are two. One, legal custody, and that is making decisions on behalf of a child. And then the second one is physical custody, which is parenting time. Now, when we're talking about custody basics, how do you even get to the point where you're talking about custody? And a lot of people call me, and again, I'm the person that answers the phone when you call 816-359-1877. And so when you do call, I answer the phone. And so I get to hear all kinds of stories all day long. And the number one thing that I hear from dads is I have a child. I'm not on the birth certificate, but I know it's my child. For some reason, I'm just not on the birth certificate. I don't have a parenting plan. I'm paying child support, and I'm not able to see my child. Okay, so how you navigate that in that situation, since you're not on, the birth certificate, usually you would have, for you to have to pay child support with the child support people, you should have taken a DNA test. Or what happens a lot of times, there's a child support case, you don't answer the paperwork, and then you're just put on child support. Okay, so If you're just put on child support, then what you would need to do is file a paternity petition. And then in that paternity petition, there are going to be four things that the court is going to take up: paternity. And if you say, you know what, it may or may not be mine, this is a really good time to get a paternity test, to get a genetic test, because you want to make sure. And I've had clients that have gone through the process. It wasn't their child. They found out later it wasn't their child and they did not take a paternity test. And so that's really, really heartbreaking. And for a lot of different reasons that we'll get into for on a different lesson. But just for today, remember, one is paternity. Two is custody. So custody is in two parts: legal custody. So that's the second part. Physical custody. Okay. Parenting time, which is also a separate part of it. So, which days do you get? And then also child support. That is going to be a lesson in and of itself. That's the number one thing that I hear about with people that are looking for an attorney but are not necessarily my clients yet. I don't generally do just child support cases. All of my cases have to include some sort of custody element, because the top two factors with determining child support are the number of overnights that you're awarded in a parenting plan and your income. So those are the two biggest driving factors with child support. And so it's really hard to lower child support without actually having more parenting time. So we talked about legal custody, which is decision-making power. We also talked about so we talked about that. We talked about physical custody, which is who gets to have the child, and then the ability to have about equal parenting time, and then parenting time. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, file a paternity case. Why did I decide to do this today? And my lesson was actually on guardianship. Because when you go into the statutes, 475.025, I think I already threw away my notes. But anyway, in the revised statutes, when they're talking about natural guardians, and so natural guardians are the parents, right? And so each parent is considered a natural guardian of the child. So and this always happens when one parent is keeping the child away from the other, and there's no parenting plan in place. And so then they say, you know what? Then someone says, hey, well, you know what? There's no parenting plan in place. Both of you all are the parents. You're on the birth certificate. And so you're on the birth certificate, and that is evidence that you, it's called prima facie evidence, but it's prima facie evidence that you are the father of the child. So just go pick the child up. Neither one of you all have rights to each other, to the child. That is not advisable, because that could be used against you if you just pick up the child. I know that back when Judge Patrick Campbell was on the bench, that was the number one thing that got you dinged. Okay, when you had a case, is that he hated when one parent would just pick up the child, and then the child would just be like a tennis ball, pickleball, going back and forth, because there was no organization with how people were doing parenting time. And so, so this natural custodian, but the law says that upon the death of one parent, okay, so in case of the death of the mother, then natural guardianship goes to the lawful father. That's why we need to talk about custody issues. I actually have a case right now. Dad was not on the birth certificate. Dad is the father. He took a DNA test. Mom passes away. And then mom's family files for guardianship of the child because there's no lawful father in place. Okay, so what do you do in that situation? Because remember, guardianship is when there are no living parents, or you can't find the other parent. Okay, so say one is passed away, the other one you can't find, you don't know who it is, but the living parents are unwilling, unable to care for the child, or they have their parental rights terminated. Then, because children need guardians, children need somebody to take care of them, then you can apply for guardianship. And so it's really important for dads. That's the number one thing that I tell people when you have a child and you're not married, you want to file that paternity case right away. Right away. Because you don't know. Right now, it's great. And even when I have clients and we say, you know what, things are okay, and I'm going to follow your advice, Attorney Shaw, I'm going to file my paternity case. But I don't want you to file a temporary order yet. We're getting along. I don't want to spend the attorney's fees for it. And you know what? We'll just wait for mediation. Invariably. Invariably. Mostly because I've been doing it a long time. It never works out until you get to mediation. Something always happens. And now we're having to file sometimes months later because it takes a while for us to get into court after a case is filed. In Jackson County, you're talking about at least 90 days to get into court after a case is filed. And so then you don't have access to the child, and there's no order in place that gives you rights that are enforceable for the police to go and have you pick up the child. And so what happens if you do not have a custody order, the police are going to say it's a civil matter. If you did have a parenting plan and a part of a judgment, and so not just a notarized parenting plan because it does have to be signed by the judge to be enforceable by law enforcement, then because it's an order, okay? And a lot of the orders that I have a big notice to law enforcement, okay, that they are to enforce the terms of the parenting plan. So it's so important that you get that parenting plan done, that you do the paternity test, and that you do the paternity action, because that gives you legal rights, okay? That gives you legal custody rights, all right? So just paying child support, it's like, oh, I pay child support $1,000 a month, and I'm not able to see my child. Well, right now, because you didn't do the paternity test, the paternity petition, because you did have a paternity test, but because you don't do the paternity petition, the only right that you have is to pay child support. Actually, that's not a right. It's actually the child's right to receive child support or financial support from both parents. But the parent that does not have the child living in the household, they have the responsibility to pay child support. And even if somebody says, oh, well, I'm going to have mom agree to no child support, the court, because it's the child's right to receive child support, not the mom's right, it's the child's right to receive child support from both parents, not just one, there has to be some sort of evidence that that the child will be provided for. Okay, so that either the parents each have 50-50 time, they both have like almost equal income, they both contribute significantly to the child's expenses. In that case, no child support. You have one parent that gets every other weekend, and the mom has most of the parenting time, and mom makes a significantly less amount of child support. You're not getting out of child support. Judge is not going to go for that. Okay, just not. All right, and mom does not have to agree to that. Okay, so we talked about child custody basics. Okay, so I'm going to open this up for questions, and I always open up the line for questions. I don't see comments, but I am. Let me see. And I'm not on my phone, so usually I can see people tapping in, but I can't this time. I'm on my laptop, and so let me see. Okay, so we don't have any questions. I'm going to leave it open for a couple of more minutes. But thank you all so much for tuning in. I do keep this up because if you all want this information, want to share it or whatever, you can totally do that. So today, just to recap, we went over legal custody, which is the ability to make decisions on behalf of the child. Physical custody, which is talking about the amount of parenting time that each parent is going to get, as well as just a little bit of guardianship and why it's important to have your paternity rights established through that paternity petition. Because if something happens to mom, if she becomes unavailable, she goes to jail, she passes away, then you are, of course, the lawful father, and 100% of custody goes to you. All right? So if you all don't have any questions, I wanted to remind you all, every single Tuesday at 7:53, I do Stacy Shaw Knows the Law. Okay, so you guys tune in. The Bible verse for today was Second Kings. Don't get me to lying. You know what? And you all notice that I do it in sequential order because I'm reading the Bible from front to back. And these are the stories that I like as I'm reading. So I just prepare for you. So I just prepare them for you as I see them. So you know what? This is actually Second Kings chapter 18. And I think I gave you 3 through 7. Okay. And that talks about King Hezekiah. And in the book of Kings, it's just a whole lot of folks that can't get right. Like generationally, they just upset God. And Hezekiah actually broke that. Now, we're not going to go into what his son did, all right? Because sometimes it don't keep. But he tried really hard, okay? So he himself broke the curse for himself. And so the reason why I shared that, because I want you all to share that with your family. You may have situations where everyone in your family, all the men go to jail. You have generations of being in poverty and not being prosperous. But that doesn't have to be you. That doesn't have to be you. You can be your own generational curse breaker. You can be your own success story. All you have to do is speak it, and it will be done. So, until next time, good luck, God bless, and I will see you. If you want to meet me, shout out to the people that met me at Bible study and for Sunday service at Harvest Church. Folks up there were super nice, of course, and they were so nice to my guests. So thank you so much. To Harvest Church, we will be there 6:45, and don't forget Sunday service at 9:30. Harvest Church, 4300 North Corrington Avenue. If you have any questions, make sure to tap in, comment, and I actually will answer them after the live. So until next time, good luck and God bless.